Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. Matt wasting absolutely no time, starting with Magus of the Moon on the first turn off of his Simian Spirit Guide. Tyler on High Tide. Force of Will is thrown at this Chalice of the Void, which would have made it virtually impossible for him to win. Cunning Wish going to exile. He's going to need as many basic islands as he can. Luckily, he does play quite a few of them. Preordained continuing to dig. Fortunately, he does have a lot of fetch lands deck. That is going to be shut off by that Magus of the Moon. He needs a critical mass of islands for his combo to work. So even though he has a really impressive amount of basic lands, it's still an issue. Sees another one. Like a Goblin Crater Maker. Would be versus Candelabra coming in. Now a Seasoned Pyromancer. Card does all sorts of work, drawing cards, giving some inevitability. Curious Clock. Another printing from Modern Horizons fitting right in. Storm here for Tyler. So much worse when you can't shuffle things away. Or islands. Impressive amount of islands so far. High Tide, we may actually see something here. 4 mana, turnabout. So no mana, gonna float 2. And Time Spiral. So 2 blue mana floating, 4 islands in play with a single High Tide cast. This could be it. We may be seeing High Tide combo off in spite of Magus of the Moon. Preordain. 1 blue floating. Now Predict. Just to draw 1 card. That feels like it could have been much better. Merchant Scroll now. Grabbing another High Tide. Hopefully that was the card he just drew. Otherwise sequencing be questionable. We want to get those High Tides resolved beforehand. So another Time Twister, another Time Spiral. Now all of his islands are tapping for 4. Ponder. Crazy things about High Tide is it is possible to fizzle. Are drawing 7 cards. Now get you there. Predict now. Ooh, just drawing 1 card at a time off this Predict. No bueno. Brainstorm. Putting some cards back. Now Merchant Scroll again. Another High Tide. Storm count not visible to me, but a lot. A lot. There's a Cunning Wish. I think probably Cunning Wish for Brain Freeze is going to be lethal from here. But he's going with a turnabout. I mean, you're playing High Tide, you're on camera. Sometimes you just got to go for it. Not going to come together every time. These Cunning Wishes would get exiled. And there is the Brain Freeze. So actually having a pair of Cunning Wishes, just adding a little bit of extra Storm to the mix. And Tyler, despite a turn 1 Blood Moon, able to combo off with his High Tide build. That is something a lot of combo decks would really struggle with. Finding a way to win against that turn 1 Blood Moon, so many fetch lands, and just so many non-basic lands as well. A deck like Sneak and Show very often would lose to a first turn Blood Moon just for lack of having basic islands for your cantrips and your show and tell. Tyler just an absolute ton of basic lands and finding them, or I assume he's got a ton of them there. May have just been really lucky, but yeah, I got to imagine he's got quite a lot of basic islands to go along with those fetch lands. That was surprising game. I'm glad we got this one on camera. High Tide is not a deck that you see a ton of Legacy. He is running the build that combos off essentially at sorcery speed, or builds in the past using reset would be used on your opponent's turn. Perhaps Time Spiral just a little bit too powerful to walk away from. Merchant Scroll is a card that you can't use in that other deck while comboing off, but it can be used to tutor up your High Tides during your own turns. Potentially acceptable. The whole deck doesn't have to play just at instant speed. You also have your other cantrips. If he's running Candelabra, or if that's even worth running at this point. Does feel to me like a card that would be fun to repeal. Matt leading out. Turn 1. Card is good enough to force a will. Not actually sure what it was. A Ponder, finding some land. High Tide really does need to just continue to make its land drops. Every turn gets a little bit more inevitable. Very difficult to stop once it gets rolling. Really need to kind of stop the High Tides from resolving. Their deck is just so much better than yours once all of their lands are tapping for 2, 3, or 4 mana. Even if your islands are tapping for more mana, usually not going to be nearly as helpful. Cast 2 Spell Pierces off of a single island, not a big deal when your opponent has so much extra mana floating around. That's Gab Clan Berserker? And it got a counter. Arn the Great Creator now. Grabbing Liquid Metal Coating. The clock is now ticking. Next turn, Karn's going to be able to start KOing these lands from Tyler. Even though they're basic islands, they are not immune from this land destruction. Liquid Metal Coating going to turn them into artifacts, and Karn going to pick up in order to turn them into 0/0s. Creatures, artifact creatures with power, toughness equal to their converted mana cost. Well, for hands, that's a 0. Liquid Metal Coating and Karn going to start stripping away this mana base. This is the turn here for Tyler. During the end step, he's intuitioning. Time Spirals. Does he have another land and a High Tide to go along with it? If so, this could be very interesting. High Tide number 1. Well, a second High Tide here would also be interesting. Does he need a third one now, though? Because that's 3, 4. We got 4 mana. Does he have a turnabout? He does. So 2 High Tides into 9 mana. Mana floating for the Twister, or for the Time Spiral. That does go to exile. Might miss that for a second. And that Liquid Metal Coating, more importantly, shuffled into, or of note, is shuffled into Matt's deck. I think the 7 cards Tyler drawing probably the most important part of this interaction, but a nice upside knowing that that liquid metal coating has been shuffled into the deck. Perhaps it made its way back into his hand, but there's something to be said there. And that's going to do it. Actually scooping it up there. Not actually sure what the card that broke the camel's back there was, but Tyler taking it down 2 games versus one of the really consistent performers in the format, Matt Kiefer, on a Magus of the Moon deck. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.